Hey guys, before we get into this video about Maggie Q, make sure to watch part one of this interview with Bey Logan, linked in the description below. Here's a little preview from that.
I'm a strong believer that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts. And so when somebody told me about Michael Bihn's podcast and he was talking about me, I went on there and that it was quite negative. If there's one thing I want your viewers to take away from this podcast that we're doing now is I was never Michael Bihn's fucking gopher.
And now let's get to part two.
The other thing that I really was is I don't think he mentions it in the Zoom, and I can't imagine in his podcast. I don't think he does. And I can't believe he forgot was the bond he developed with Maggie Q. And
Hmm.
he wanted to do another movie with her later, but they became really friendly and they would just make it, she would just make him laugh to the nth degree. And they had such a fun time together. And I remember, there was one scene when one of the bad guy team, because Michael's the leader of the bad guy team and Maggie's on there as a sniper,
Hmm.
but one of the bad guy team has been killed. And Daniel, who plays things very serious, goes up and he says, "Okay, so Mr. Ho Jin Ho, the Korean actor, is going to sing Amazing Grace in Korean." And and then of course Michael goes, "So what do we do?" And Daniel goes, "Well, you can join in." And Maggie goes, "We don't know Amazing Grace in Korean." And so, but anyway, so the scene progresses and Maggie is in Daniel's ear. And bear in mind, this is 2005, singing the Thong Song
Ooh, that dress so scandalous, and you know I never couldn't handle it.
in his ear. The Thong Song by, who sang that? I know, the thong.
Let me see that thong.
So she's singing that in his ear, and Michael's like, and then Daniel comes over and he says, "Michael, that was incredible. I could see that you were holding back the tears." And he goes, "Yeah, I was."
That dress so scandalous, and I know I never couldn't handle it.
But it was Maggie in his ear, thong,
That's
thong, thong,
funny.
thong, whatever. And then this is another, I guess, I think it's a useful story, but from the other direction for agencies. So Michael at the time was represented by ICM, if I remember correctly, and his agent had been, when he was at his prime, when he was doing the Cameron films and everything, had been Ed Limato, who was a big shot. And by the time we did Dragon Squad, Michael's star had somewhat come down. I don't think ICM were not as focused on him. But Michael, to his great credit, reported back to them and said, "Yeah, having a good time. Bay's taking care of me. The film's going well. Oh, by the way, there's this incredible girl, Maggie Q. She's Eurasian, Vietnamese. You should sign her." And I got a kind of begrudging call from somebody at ICM, and they were kind of Vietnamese, Vietnamese. They didn't want to know. And I said, yeah, this is great, and you should think about signing her. And they were like, "Yeah, well, what this, what that," and there's lots of gubba gubba. And I just felt, they weren't really serious about it. And
Hmm.
Maggie, to her great credit, said, "I'm not going to go to LA and do a round of these people. When I'm hired to do a Hollywood film, I'll go."
Sure.
Which at the time I thought, well, that's a bit ballsy, but that actually turned out to be the best tactic. But so then I never heard back from ICM about Maggie until, and I get ahead in the story slightly, she was signed to be in Mission Impossible 3 with Tom Cruise.
Pull the car.
Such a nice car.
And yet,
Do it.
On that day, the schmuck from ICM called me up. "Hey, you remember that girl you introduced?" I'm like, "Yeah, dickwad. If when she's a headline in Variety, anybody, my Aunt Hilda could sign her. What you should have done is on Dragon Squad, when your client Michael Biehn said, 'There's this girl and she's freaking awesome,' that, my friend, is when you sign her up,
Sure.
right? You don't wait until she's already been signed. Then she signed with somebody else, and the rest is history." But anyway, so that was that. But anyway, let me just digress from Michael for a minute to a Maggie story. And again, I think there's probably a lesson here for action film people. So we were shooting a sequence in Hong Kong Graveyard, and in the scene, Maggie's character swings down, who's like a sniper, swings down from a tree on a cable, firing a gun, and then is shooting at another actor, Sha Yu. Sha Yu is a lovely guy. He actually later he played he played Wong Jack Man in Birth of the Dragon,
Okay.
opposite Philip. Philip also is in Dragon Squad. He's one of the bad guy team. Anyway, so then Chin Garlock, who's been typical Hong Kong guy. He's an actor, a game show host, and an action choreographer. But another story before I get to Maggie and the Tree. So when Michael first came to Hong Kong, took him to dinner at my favorite snake soup restaurant, Sir Wong Fun, and we're in there. And Hong Kong restaurants tend to have had TVs up on the wall
Hmm.
showing Hong Kong television. And as we're having our dinner, Michael, I looked up and Chin Garlock, who's the stunt coordinator for the film, is on his game show
Hmm.
in a kind of goofy outfit, kind of rolling around in a Velcro mattress. And I stupidly said, "Oh, look, that's our action director." And Michael turns to look at this guy in a clown suit rolling on the floor, picking up objects in a Velcro mattress. And he looks back at me very dryly. He says, "Bey, this does not inspire confidence." And we had another moment at the end of the movie when Michael was getting squibbed. He was going to get shot full of holes like Jimmy Kahn in The Godfather. And the guy who was wiring him was the skinny guy with this white Einstein hair. And Michael says, he looks like he crossed the wrong wire. Just again, does not inspire confidence. So, anyway, so getting back to Maggie in the tree. So then we're there with Chingala, and Garlock goes, "Okay, Maggie, here's what we're going to do. Your stunt double, this lovely girl from China, is going to leap down from the tree, and then we'll do what we call is it a Texas switch? Is it Texas switch when the stuntman goes out of shot and the actor runs into shot in the same shot? What
Hmm.
is that called? Is that a Texas switch?
I
Well,
haven't heard
you
that
can
term.
check and put it
Yeah,
at the bottom if I got it
sure.
wrong. I think it's a Texas switch. Anyway, so the idea of the shot that he had in mind, the stunt woman would swing down out of frame, and
Hmm.
Maggie would run into frame, gun blazing, and we cut, and so there would be no cut, so it would look like she jumped out the
Sure,
tree.
sure.
And Maggie, being Maggie, says, "Okay, you know what? If that's your plan, the stunt woman can come out of the tree on the cable, land on the ground, and she can run into shot firing." And he goes, "But we'll be able to tell it's not you." And she goes, "Exactly. So either you put me up that I can say fucking right,
Yeah.
put me up that fucking tree, or we can forget about it." So
Mm.
Garlock is like, "You think you can do it?" And Maggie says, "Well, I think I can try." So, and this is why she's become, the star she is now,
Sure.
currently playing in Ballad. Check it out. And anyway, so Maggie gets up the tree, does the whole frigging thing in one shot, swings down on the cable. She's a fantastic athlete, swings
Nice.
down, runs in the shot, firing, and it's this great shot in the movie, and it's her the whole time. And I went back behind the monitors, and there's this, and again, to this day, I'm not 100% sure how this happened. There's another white guy and a slightly older guy behind the monitors watching what's going on. And normally on the set, the only two white guys were me and Michael. So I
Hmm.
was like, "Hi, how you doing? How can I help?" And he goes, "Who is that girl? My goodness, the way she swung down from the tree and she's incredible." "Oh yeah, no, no, she's working on the movie. She's an actress and we have a company together. Why do you ask?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm casting the next Mission Impossible film
Oh, okay.
for Tom Cruise, and we're looking for somebody to be Asian action girl." And
Yeah.
that was the beginning of it. And I'm not going to say a name because it's not fair, but there was another instance round about the same time where another stunt coordinator, a friend of mine, Nikki Lee, he wanted this girl to jump down from a garage roof onto a grass lawn, which my kids could do. My daughter could do. And this girl called her mom, and mom says, "Oh, you're not a stunt woman. Oh, you shouldn't be jumping down." And of course, everybody looks at her a bit like, meh, it's like, how pathetic are you? And her career never went anywhere. Maggie was like, "I'm going to go for it." She's got
Sure.
that energy. And so that's why that happened the way it did. And she and Michael had a great bond.
What was
Um,
that guy just happened to be there on set for one day or?
that is so I'm I by my memory, there was another lady producer on the film who had also been involved with production management on international films. And I think there was a mutual connection. And it was almost that she just said to the guy, "Oh, come, I'm busy today, but why do you come by the set? It'll be fun." Which,
Okay.
I've done that, right?
Sure.
And we're shooting here, and then the guy came down. But it goes back to what I was saying about truth stranger than fiction. I mean, if you wrote that in a novel, I think people would just be like, "Well, that could never happen." But that's how it happened. Well, that's how I remember it.